This is an introduction to the Implied Outlines Project for Drawing 2. On your PowerSchool page, you'll go to the Implied Outlines Project page right here, which I'm already on. You'll see instructions for this project, which you can view here just so you can see it. You can't edit this copy of it. For your own copy of it, you will go here, and to see a student example of this project, you'll click here. So let's go to the project page first. You'll open your own copy, and you can do this part right away. There are 3 definitions that you need to type. You can do this now, or you can do this later. We'll be focusing on a couple things on this project. One is types of lines. An outline is a line around the outside of an object. Contour line is on the surface of an object. And implied line is where 2 areas meet or border each other. So you can go ahead and put those definitions on there anytime. The rest of the critique below here is something you'll fill out at the end of the project. If we look at the student example, one thing you'll notice is we are going to be using mostly bottles and vases, that type of still life object. And we will be using a lot of pattern, which you can see in the background in the negative spaces. So that's one thing to focus on, the patterns in the background. You'll have to create several of those to use in those kinds of spaces. On the bottles and the vases themselves, you won't do much detail there. A few reflections of light you can add eventually. But the most important thing on this project is the implied line effect. Notice how the outline of these objects is not there anymore. So you'll sketch the still life out with outlines lightly, and then fill in the negative spaces and the space on the table with patterns, and then eventually go back in and erase the outlines that were there before. So you want to draw those really, really lightly. So that will create, instead of an actual outline, this would be called an implied line. You don't actually see a line here around the outside of these objects, but it's implied that there is an edge there where those 2 areas border each other or meet. The bottom of this vase bordering the table, which has this pattern on it. One other thing to notice is if you have objects overlapping each other, you won't see an outline there. So you will have no outlines around these bottles at all. If you have these overlapping each other, one thing you'll want is reflections to be close to that edge, like you can see here, to help show where the edge of this object is. In this example, I think the student could have used more reflections, and that would have made a better drawing and would have defined this edge a little bit more clearly. So that is introduction to this project. And like I said, if you want to look at instructions here, there's a place in one of the textbooks here that you can look for a little bit more information.